Greetings everyone, it's your local raccoon in leather Slayer here. Today I want to talk about a game series that I'm surprised I hadn't gotten into earlier, Twisted Metal. Seriously, given my affinity for totally metal and awesome things, I'm shocked I had never played this series until now. After stumbling across some videos about the series on YouTube and watching a bit of the recent Twisted Metal TV series, I thought I'd dive headfirst into this series in the best and most tried and tested way possible, the first two games. Yeah, it seems as if though Twisted Metal is one of those series that peaked early, before going downhill after the third or fourth entry, or at least that's what the prevailing wisdom tells us. Twisted Metal debuted in 1995 for the original PlayStation, back when that console had absolutely no competition. The N64 was another year away, and the Sega Saturn flopped harder than a dirty old man with erectile dysfunction, so I'm just gonna act like that console never existed. This was part of the original long box run of PlayStation games that quickly got phased out after 1996. An interesting period of the PlayStation's lifespan that has been almost entirely forgotten. Given that game consoles tend to peak at the second to last year of their run before the next generation starts, and given how few 1995 PS1 games there are in the top 10 best-selling PlayStation games list, seriously, not a single 1995 game cracked the top 10, it's safe to say that we were still getting over the Super Nintendo versus Genesis war of the early 90s at this point. The fifth generation wouldn't truly pick up steam until Nintendo released their three-pronged nightmare into the world, along with one of the biggest game changers in gaming history. But enough of the history ramble. Let's delve into the twisted and totally metal world of Twisted Metal. If there's one thing I love about these PS1 launch titles, it's how absolutely, unequivocally 90s they are. 1995 and 96 are without question the most 90s years of the 1990s, and that's definitely reflected in the aesthetics and tone of the majority of PS1 launch titles, with the possible exception of Ridge Racer 1's late 80s aftertaste. Twisted Metal has this gritty and low-budget aesthetic that just makes me want to crack open a can of Surge soda and crank up some Alice in Chains on my boombox. Twisted Metal 1 takes place in 2005 during the 10th annual Twisted Metal contest, hosted by Calypso, a man with magical wish-granting powers. The contest sees us wrecking house through 6 levels, all set throughout the city of LA. 6 levels is admittedly not a whole lot, although many other racing games at the time had even less, so I'll take what we're given. I'd also say that the diverse selection of vehicles makes up for that, each of which have drastically different handling and statistics, and each one has a different ending for completing the tournament. Originally, the game was going to feature these charmingly bad FMV endings, but they were sadly cut and replaced with rather generic text-based ones. I have no idea why. Those FMV sequences added to the overall feel of the game, and replacing them with scrolling text endings just makes this feel like a Nintendo 64 game. Each of the 6 levels are fantastic and brimming with atmosphere, from the dingy arena duel, to the blistering speeds of Freeway Free-For-All, the sprawling suburbs of Suburbia, and culminating with the toughest nails boss battle on top of some rooftops. This final boss always takes me a while to finally conquer, but let me tell ya, finally defeating him is as satisfying as going number 2 and only having to wipe once. Each level features an array of weapon pickups, because believe me, those machine gun turrets and special attacks aren't going to be enough. And if you are ever about to bite the dust, there are these health recharging stations, 2 in each level. Using them will cost the station to shut down for about 2 or so minutes, so do be strategic with how you use them. Twisted Metal 1 is a magnum opus of the PS1 launch day era. Not a lot of games from the PS1's early days hold up that well, if at all, but TW1 is still a highlight of the car combat genre even now. Really, the only thing that's aged is the presentation, both the graphics and overall aesthetic that is very 1995, but even that has its charm. The combat will have you on the edge of your seat, the driving controls are simplistic but fun, and it's the perfect kind of snacky game that you can come back to and play 40-minute bursts of every other day. A must-play for any OG PlayStation owner. But it gets even better. Just a year later in 1996, we would get Twisted Metal 2. Even though I personally think Twisted Metal 1 still holds up, there's definitely some of that PS1 launch title stank that needed to be washed up, and things that could be added and improved upon. Twisted Metal 2 does all of that, and the result is what many consider the apex of the series. Everything is better. You've got better and more varied weapons at your disposal, including some extra special attacks, a revamped campaign taking place all over the world instead of just LA, with more intricate level design and secrets to find, and the new playable characters are some of the best the series has ever seen. The only possible downside is the noticeable increase in difficulty. Twisted Metal 1 wasn't exactly easy, but TW2 is guaranteed to whoop your ass with a belt. This also applies to the first game, but Twisted Metal 2 does not have a save feature, only a password system, with different codes for specific characters on specific levels. With the advent of the internet, that basically means you can put in a code to play the final boss right out of the gate. You cheating bastards. The difficulty is really the only downside, and that all depends on taste and your skill. I managed to beat the final boss on medium difficulty, so clearly, deep down inside, I'm an intermediate gamer. Not a hardcore gamer with all the time in the world to waste on achievements, and not some filthy casual playing mobile games while on the toilet. Just an average Joe who's decent and can get the job done. The story in Twisted Metal 2 has been greatly improved. We now have a comic book style with full voice acting. In terms of PS1 cutscenes, these are among the cream of the crop and have aged far better than anything else that was coming out in 1996. Seriously, these are some epic and truly satisfying endings, with a perfect mixture of edge and comedy that fits the game like a glove. If you ever get bored of doing the main tournament, we now have a challenge match mode, where we can pick a character, map, and opponents to battle. Really, it doesn't add all that much. We're still dealing with only around 6 maps, which do all rock, except for Antarctica. That level can suck it. But at least it's something. And there's a 2-player mode for those who have friends willing to play PS1 games with you. Twisted Metal 2 is a highlight of the series, and one of the better PS1 games. It could do with a little extra content in my honest opinion, but still, if you have to buy one, and only one Twisted Metal game on the original PlayStation, this is the game you are looking for. Sadly, after this 1-2 punch of greatness, the Twisted Metal series would be handed over to 989 Studios. God, I love that logo so much. Who were tasked with developing a new Twisted Metal game in only 9 months. The end result is the controversial Twisted Metal 3, considered by many fans to be the worst in the series, and TW4 doesn't fare that much better. I'll have to play those to see if they really do suck as hard as people say. If this video does well enough, I might very well review them. Let me know in the comments below. So I might as well get this out of the way. I haven't been doing as much gaming-related content lately. Long story short, it's been due to a combination of writer's block and me losing interest in gaming over the past year. I can safely say that playing Twisted Metal 1 and 2 has reinvigorated my interest in gaming, and by extension, making gaming-related content again. I will probably dedicate an update video to that and some other stuff soon. But anyways, if you are new here, feel free to like and subscribe, and if you'd like to support me, you can donate to me on Ko-fi. This is your local Trash Panda Slayer here, signing out.